for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip committee meeting in the hall. Sorry, we actually have to go into. We have to have a short village board meeting before we start our committee meeting, just to take care of some immediate business. So I want to then rephrase what I'm saying. Thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip special board meeting. Today is March 25th, 2019. In order at 7:34.
Okay.
Yes, Trustee McGrail is absent. Trustee Dalzell.
Here.
Trustee Zielinski.
Here.
Trustee Juarez is absent. Trustee McGuire. Here. Trustee Murphy.
Here.
Mayor Ryan.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Could you ask for a pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we just had a special request for the board. That's what I want to bring to everyone's attention tonight. So we're just going to be in special board meeting session for minutes here, more or less, and then we'll go into a committee meeting scenario. On your agendas, trustees, for the board meeting, under letter A, report by myself was an approval of a 2019 Cook County Block Grant application resolution for the resurfacing of various streets in the amount of $400,000. This would include Central Park Avenue from 123rd Street to Bank Drive with a new guardrail and guardrail stabilization, Joellis Drive from 115th to Jean Street, and Jean Street from Joellis Drive to Costner. Those are some main thoroughfares through town. I wanted to give an overview of what we're speaking about here then too. The grant application process for Cook County is the 2019 Community Development Block Grant and Emergency Solutions Grant program is now underway. Each year, the Department of Planning and Development solicits grant applications for Cook County's Community Development Block Grants and Emergency Solutions Grants through a competitive application process. Cook County uses the funding primarily to support capital improvement projects such as roads, sewers, and facilities, including social services. In suburban Cook County, the main objective of the grants is to develop viable communities and expand economic opportunities, principally for persons of low or moderate income. These programs are funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Applications are due by 4 p.m. on Friday, March 29th, which is why we have it on tonight's agenda this evening for approval, so we don't miss the deadline and an opportunity to get said grant. Mike, do you want to speak more to it on that?
Just stating that while the application...
You have Attorney McGrail.
We have a microphone issue tonight.
I just want to note that while the application is due this upcoming Friday, the village is by no means obligated if awarded this grant in case funds are not available at the time. Simply, we're looking for the resolution to apply for the grant tonight so that we can at least try to see if there's an opportunity for us to fund it for some desperately needed resurfacing of our residential streets.
And to be clear, Mike, this is a matching grant or what
Correct.
percentage? Okay, thank you. So that's what's being proposed this evening, trustees, is, and I'm going to ask for a motion and a second to approve said application. For the resolution we're going to approve.
Do
Should we follow the order of the agenda?
I apologize. I didn't have my thing right in front of me, Sharon. Thank you, trustee. Sorry. We also had input from the public. We have a public forum portion of this. Anyone in the audience wish to address this matter or anything else? Any presentations, petitions, or communications by the trustees? Then would anyone like to remove this item for further discussion? Okay, is it just the one? Then can I get a motion to establish this?
So moved.
Second.
motion to approve this on.
Hang on, I gotta do a roll call.
Oh, sorry.
Motion to establish the consent agenda as presented. Trustee Delzo?
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski?
Yes.
Trustee Juarez is absent, and I'm sorry, Trustee McGreal is also absent. Trustee McLaughlin? Yes. Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Motion carries to establish.
Motion to approve. Second.
This is. Roll call number 2 to approve the consent agenda. Trustee McGreal is absent. Trustee Delzo?
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski?
Yes.
Trustee Juarez is absent. Trustee McLaughlin?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Motion carries. This will now be known as resolution number 2019-03-R-1.
Trustees, any unfinished business? Any new business? And I apologize, I got a little excited, it was the shortest, board meeting ever here too, so. Can I get a motion to adjourn this portion of the meeting?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. So we're going to adjourn this part of our meeting for the special board meeting, and now we'll go into a committee meeting scenario with the fresh roll call.
Special board meeting is adjourned at 7:40 p.m.
Sure. So, while we adjourn that, we're going to start the portion of our meeting tonight known as our village committee meeting, and we'll call this meeting in order at 7:41. I'm sorry, can you call a roll one more time? Just for the record.
Yes, Mayor Ryan. Trustee McGreal is absent. Trustee Delzo?
Here.
Trustee Zelinski?
Here.
Trustee Juarez is absent. Trustee McLaughlin?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum for the committee meeting.
Thank you. I'm going to certainly move the pledge. We've taken care of that at the prior meeting. We'll move on to officers' reports, starting with myself. First, I just spoke with Public Works earlier. Our village property personnel was not available today. Public Works tomorrow will put on flags at the staff in memory of Officer Rivera, who passed away over the weekend from the Chicago Police Department. And I'd like to ask everyone to please keep Officer Rivera and his family in your prayers. It was unfortunate, and this happens too often lately to, obviously, those that protect us. And we just have 30 seconds of silence, please, for Officer Rivera. Thank you very much, folks. Mike, you said you guys, you put our flags over at Metro Plaza as well, but I have staff, please. Thank you. Next, I wanted to just let the board know and the public as well that I have spoken with Olson and Stirk, who's our attorneys that handle our municipal court in-house here, but they also represent District 218. I've asked them to take over handling a PTAB, property tax evaluation, because they're involved with these things anyway, and we were letting our previous attorneys at Robin Schwartz handle that, so there's no reason to be having so many different people in there, and this way we save money too, with having Olson and Stirk have it, because they're already there representing District 218. So this will take more costs off our plate, and let them, they can handle that duty. I did speak with our village attorney. He agreed it would probably be a good task, again, to save us money. Next, I put in everybody's mailbox was the approval of a 6B application for a property commonly known as 5901 West 115th Street. I put a letter there that our village attorney got, and the village attorney asked me to put this on this evening's agenda so we can ask for approval next week on this matter. AA Restoration LLC, also known as, basically is the applicant, is the contract purchaser of the above referenced property and is requesting a resolution from the Village of Alsip supporting and consenting to a Class 6B tax incentive for the subject property based on the reoccupancy of vacant property for less than 24 continuous months, vacancy with a purchase for value special circumstances and substantial rehabilitation. The former owner or occupant in this case would be Granite Place, vacated the property on January 25th, 2019, leaving the property 100% vacant and unused. The subject property currently consists of approximately 9,500 square feet. It's an industrial building located at a 31,000 square foot site. The applicant plans to lease the property to a related entity, AA Restoration Service, who will be the occupant, who will use the site to expand their growing business. AA has been in business since 2013. AA Restoration provides a wide range of services, including tuck pointing, scaffolding, demolitions, facade inspection, emergency stabilization, masonry restoration, lentil restoration, I should say, and is currently located at 6140 South Central and also at 5245 West 25th Street in the Cicero line. The applicant owns 3,700 square feet of property in Cicero and rents 3,100 square feet of property in Chicago by the airport, like as I just mentioned, on Central Avenue, across its two locations. AA Restoration employs approximately 24 people, all of which are full-time and paid a living wage. The applicant is in the process of selling the Cicero location and plans to vacate the leased portion of the central location once they make the move to Alsip, consolidating the entire operation under one roof and utilizing the new location as its headquarters. AA Restoration's plans on transferring its current employees to Alsip and hiring approximately 8 to 10 new full-time employees within the first few years. When hiring new employees, AA Restorations will give preference to qualified Alsip residents. AA Restoration Service plans to use the site to expand its current capabilities in scaffolding distribution, material warehousing, manufacturing of concrete countertops. For more information regarding the occupant, please visit their website at aarestorationservice.com/about. So certainly we look forward to relocating to our community, and trustees, on page 2 gives you a breakdown of approximately what the applicant plans to spend. They plan to spend approximately $50,000 in improvements, including tuck pointing, roof repairs, painting the interior, and remodeling. Within the first 3 to 5 years, the applicant will invest an additional $50,000 to $100,000 into the property itself. After the acquisition and initial improvements of the subject property, it's projected to have a market value of approximately $735,000, which would generate an estimated $376,000 in total taxes over the life of the 6B tax incentive, or approximately $27,000 per year. Without the incentive and their full vacancy of the property would not generate a total of $169,000 over 12 years. So please review this information, trustees, and I'll ask some representative of this agency to be here next week should we have any questions. And again, we look forward to having them as a new member of our business community. Next I have on my agenda was a presentation by Dan Aykroyd of 7-Eleven regarding a possible new store being built at 127th and Pulaski, and the inclusion of both gasoline, diesel sales, and liquor sales. Dan, I'm not sure who's going to speak for your organization, or do you have a couple guys?
Speak with both, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, come on up, please. So, I can ask maybe here, can you tap on that microphone? Just we actually record all these minutes. Or if I could ask one of these.
Hello, hello. Test.
Or if I could
Hello.
ask one of you to work off this mic
Sorry.
instead. Would that be all right?
Sure.
Thank you.
We don't have any either.
Need to both speak, you can.
That one's not, I was gonna say, you have to go over there.
Microphone, big spots.
Sorry about that. You know, actually, We're hoping we're recording, but the overhead's not working correctly, so we have a little technical glitch here. So, yes, that's working.
Okay.
This is Dan Aykroyd here.
Yep. Hello. Great.
How you doing? I'm Chris Lakis with Beckley, the developer for the proposed project at the northwest corner of 127th and Pulaski. Dan's with 7-Eleven, and can kind of speak to some of the store operations and things that make them successful. But a little bit about the plan. The site is an existing mobile gas station with a restaurant to the north as part of the redevelopment. The land size is about 60,000 square feet. We are proposing a 4,010 square foot freestanding 7-Eleven convenience store, which is their new prototype concept, with a fueling component. The fueling component has 6 regular fuel pumps and 3 diesel pumps to the north side of the site. A little bit about the building. Andrew, if you could switch the slide.
Towards them. Can you guys see?
So this is a rendering of the project. As I mentioned, it's a new prototypical high-quality store. A little bit about 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven is one of the world's largest retailers with over 70,000 locations. So they maintain their real estate and operations to a high standard. With that, Dan can kind of speak a little bit to what makes your store successful here in Chicago. Most of their new stores do have a fuel component to them. 7-Eleven, first and foremost, is a convenience store. So that's how it differs a little bit from other gas stations in that it has larger format convenience stores, and that's kind of their primary business line with fuel now. But Dan, if you want to speak a little bit to just what you have in the new prototype store and kind of the store offering that makes you guys successful.
Sure, thanks, Chris. Sorry if I went back to you. I'm trying to read this.
Where do you want to use this one?
Okay. Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Aykroyd. I'm the real estate rep with 7-Eleven. We're excited to be here tonight to bring Alsip the first new store to the village. And as Chris mentioned, we are looking at a 4,000 square foot C-store here, which is the largest of our prototypes that we currently offer in the Chicagoland area. Just a little bit about the history of 7-Eleven is that we are a convenience store first. So, we offer a large variety of products. We have fresh foods. They are made locally, delivered daily to every store. And with the large format store, we would have more of a fresh food offering. We have pastas and salads and sandwiches and fresh donuts and bakery and et cetera. So, we are looking for that, that C-store component to bring to the village here. With that being said, with being a one-stop shop and convenience related, we are 24/7, 365 days a year. Fuel, we are adding fuel, so that way, we can be that one-stop shop now, with offering fuel to the residents and the commuters in the area. With the 4,000 square foot C-store, it is kind of maximizes our sections too, so we're able to offer 50 plus sections in the store, ranging anywhere from like health and beauty products to, like I said, the fresh food already. To a little toy section. We even have a 3-foot sporting goods. Depending on what the local residents in that area want. For employment opportunities too, we do look within the community, so it's a business opportunity for a local franchisee, to run the store, as well as employees of the store. A small component of the C-store that we're looking for is, the possibility of gaming too. So gaming, falls in, roughly a small section of the store, of the larger 4,000 square foot store. And again, it's just about catering to the community, bringing additional tax revenue dollars. It's what the customers want. And it's kind of the next rollout, that we are pursuing. We have successful stores in other parts of the country too that have it. We have one successful store in Chicago that has gaming now. looking to increase that as we move forward, which is why we're here tonight. And we'll be happy to answer any questions that the board has. And thank you.
Sure. So I met with Dan and his associates a couple weeks ago. They came in and we had our finance director, our building commissioner, and so forth. We sat in on the meeting, and just so everyone's familiar with what property they're looking at. Have you made a purchase this yet? Do you have a contract with these?
We have a contract.
You just have a contract, you haven't executed anything yet.
Correct.
So they're actually they're looking to purchase the property right now owned by the mobile gas station, and there's a restaurant to the north of that. So this would actually take up that entire footprint from the corner of 127th Street almost to the firehouse per se is where we're going with this. And certainly as far west as they're able. There you go, the top view. Going back to, there's a strip mall behind it, so we're not touching the strip mall, but we're going back to that property as well then too. It's a nice footprint. This is just being known as a fueling center. It is not a truck stop, so that you're not going to have overnight parking there or anything like that. As Dan said, that we are looking at. Do you have any proposed? I didn't have my other sheet with me, but do you have any proposed numbers as far as revenues are concerned out of a store like this yet, or do you have any idea?
No. I'm just one person out of the total deal, so we don't have any revenue numbers yet now.
Okay.
No. But we've identified the intersection. We've identified the village, and we think by a great partnership, we could have a successful store here for sure.
I think it's great that obviously you've identified a couple of parcels where you might have business owners now that you can possibly help out for whatever their situation may be then too. So obviously they're looking to sell these parcels and to make this venture happen then too. I guess the biggest question to the village would be, having an involvement come in is kind of a no-brainer. I mean, it's always nice to see something fresh, something that we can sell more fuel at, which obviously generates more fuel taxes, as well as retail sales taxes coming out of a store like that then too. 4,000 square foot store is a substantial size store, and they can compete head to head with the Speedway across the street, which are basically mostly the same, not all the same amenities, but you might have more, like you said, health and beauty items and things like that. But it's a good competitor. The question would be to the board to consider, and I did explain this to the 7-Eleven team, was that last year I did ask the board if they wanted to consider allowing gaming, which isn't controlled by the board, it's controlled by the state of Illinois, but if we wanted to allow that to happen at gas stations. And last year, the board was not in favor of it, and that was last year. I mean, we could certainly change our opinion on that, especially in lieu of what I see as not just additional revenue, but I guess it is revenue, but it's also more like on the development side of life that you can actually, this is something that is a common practice now, and that I know of. I could probably defer to our police chief. We have really any problems with any gaming establishments and so forth that you know of?
No, not at any of the gaming cafes. We've had very little issues at all.
That I know of, we haven't had any problems with gaming establishments. Currently in the village, I believe we have 14 establishments, and we bring in an approximate revenue of close to $275,000 a year is what comes to the village. Certainly this would increase with having something like this in place, and that would be the question to the board would we allow this to, for basically gas stations to allow gaming to take place inside of it?
There is gaming currently at the restaurant that you're talking about, so it would almost be a wash as far as number of machines in town. It's my
True, but the restaurant that they're purchasing already has gaming there, but it's just a new component that we'll talk about. So it's not like we're even creating new licenses, we'd be just reissuing, but more or less the question to the board would we allow this to happen? Obviously, and this is just going to be for them, obviously you're going to see other gas stations ask for the same thing. I've had that request by Speedway last year, I've had it from a few guys, and again, I was a proponent for it, but now it's a matter up to the board as far as your thoughts on the matter. So too.
I had a question. How many employees are you looking to employ in a 4,000 square foot convenience store in this ballpark?
Employment does fall on the franchisee. Obviously, we give recommendations. I would say roughly an average by 8 to 12. It just ranges.
24 hour?
Yes, correct.
Trustees, any other questions for 7-Eleven? And for what it's worth, I did ask Dan, obviously everybody's in your head, right? Dan is a relative of the real Dan. I asked him that as soon as I heard that.
I knew that was going to come up, Mayor, and I thank you.
So he's not the real.
Yeah, he's not the real Dan.
He doesn't dance well.
I had spoke to the issue with regards to the gaming at the gas stations before. In this instance, my thought is that it's a new development built with that as an intent. Whereas before we were approached by the one who was going to repurpose a certain percentage of their area for the gaming. And in my opinion, again, it was kind of a tight area to begin with, and then they were just going to repurpose it. So in this instance, they're coming with a fresh look, design built for that.
And that's a great point, trustee, and actually, I spoke to a couple other nearby communities to see if they had a designated footprint that they offered, and no one really does. I spoke to a couple other towns, nobody had a definitive footprint, because remember the old days when you had like the old Clark gas stations, and you walked in, you turned right and you paid for your gas, or you turned left and got a candy bar. You know, we don't want to have that as far as is concerned. I did speak to the gaming operators though, and I did ask what is a fair space, but for 5 games, and they said typically it's maybe 8 feet deep by almost 20 feet wide, because you know you figure each. Let's just say a typical person might be as wide as 2 foot, so you got to give a little bit of wagon room between each one to get 5 games in there and so forth. You need 18 to 20 feet is what he said as far as width is concerned. So you're looking at close to 160 square feet designated just for that.
And it also has to have a privacy aspect of it.
Well, yeah, they have to put up
State mandates that, I believe.
Right.
They have to have a private area so that kids don't.
a separate wall of some
Right.
type, but it still has to be visible from the operator. And the operators now then too, being the gas stations, and Chief Miller, we've spoke to this many times, they do have to be gas certified now then too. Right, because you have to be able to.
They're serving alcohol, so.
You're serving alcohol. And it doesn't, just because you offer it, doesn't mean everyone has to have one there either. But it's just a matter, it's a component by the state of Illinois, and it puts that in place too. So that operator has to be gas certified to obviously understand if, even in any gaming cafe or tavern or anything like that, even in a restaurant, they have to be gas certified in order to serve drinks. That's just Cook County certification.
Can I ask a question? Would you need to be occupying one of the games in order to consume alcohol on the premises? Or are you just going to let somebody walk in off the street and grab a drink?
If we could have Claudette Miller come on and speak to that. That's her background.
Well, I'm going to go stand the microphone with everybody else, sorry. Hi, my name is Claudette Miller. I'm an attorney at Reyes Person. I do a lot of gaming work. And
Sorry, you have to speak more into the mic. I apologize.
Actually, it sounds like you all, like many communities in Illinois, are fairly well versed in this. So you do have, as the mayor pointed out, you have to have some separation. It could be a wall. Some people just put up a rope, but it's to make sure that minors don't have access to the machines. And also, you have to have a liquor license, and liquor license means it's a pouring license. So people can't just come into the store, walk back to the cooler, take out a beer, and wander over to the gaming machines. The person who is, you call it, I guess, the counter where you come in, where you usually purchase gas or lottery tickets or whatever, that person who has to have a clear line of sight to the machines, and they have to be separated. It could be a half wall. Like I said, some people just do a rope. But they would have to give you whatever if you wanted a beer, but there's no requirement that you drink beer or purchase anything, but if you want to have a drink, you don't just go and get yourself the drink and then wander over to the gaming area.
It has to be served.
Yeah, it has to be served, and served honestly can just be, they will take it out and pour it and hand it to you, but you just can't walk in, get some alcohol, and then wander off and game. There has to be involvement of somebody pouring the drink.
Okay, I guess, I'm sorry, May. But that is being served a drink, but can somebody walk in and have a drink served to them and not go play?
That's a local, I don't think you have a license that allows that. That's not, the gaming license wouldn't let somebody get served a drink necessarily. I think they could still help themselves.
I think
But
that's,
the liquor license and the gaming license are two separate things.
right.
Yes, I mean, you have to have a liquor license in this scenario or you're not getting any gaming license. The only people who don't have to have a liquor license are truck stops. And there's a real specific provision for, you all probably know, is truck stops. So they have to have a liquor license, and the liquor license trumps and governs the gaming. If you don't have it, you don't get a gaming license. And if you don't, keep up with the requirements of that, you could lose your gaming license.
But to be more specific, what you're saying, and that will be something that I'll introduce in there as well too, that no, you cannot come in and have a beer unless you're participating with that game.
Yeah,
Period. Yes.
making it right.
Right. And this is something new for us as well. So, but there will be a stipulation unless you're participating in that. You're not coming in there just to have a beer at my place. And,
Standing around and
right,
drinking, yeah.
exactly. Because you could get loitering issues and everything else with that. So,
And you do have, obviously, local control over that.
absolutely. So, any other
Did I
questions, Trustees?
answer your question? Sorry to have
No, no,
my
that's good.
Nice
So-
to meet you all.
All right, thank you very much. And,
right here.
If you would post any minutes, well,
Thank you.
please, yes, yes,
Sorry, I'm standing in front of you.
Oh, you're okay,
And,
all right.
We'll put this up for consideration at the next board meeting to see if we go from there. Because I know you're kind of, obviously you need to keep this project moving as far as purchasing the land yet and everything else. And basically, I guess the question, gentlemen, the question I would put to the board next week would be, just will the board allow video gaming in gas stations? So this would be the question, because that particular site, as the clerk noted, already has, at the restaurant, already has a liquor license that I can earmark for your new location. I don't have to create a liquor license, but I do need to have a purpose for it. So that's the question I'll put to the board next week. All right. Thank you very much for coming out.
Yes, sign in too, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And last thing I was going to just say, and we'll get on with our reports here, was just that our Director of Emergency Preparedness, Chuck Tracy, told me right before the meeting that we're closing out our Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus grant today, Chuck. Chuck, can you come up and just speak there real quick, just so you know, everybody understands what that means?
Yes, we closed out the grant today. The Powering Safe Communities grant was a matching grant through Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus funded by Commonwealth Edison. I talked to the program manager today, and he said the reimbursement, which we have $4,250. It was an $8,500 grant, so half of that will be coming back. So he expects that we should have that $4,250 check within the next month or so.
Very good.
So we officially close out the grant. I appreciate everybody's help along the way, including Mr. Tompkins, the project manager through the Mayor's Caucus, who was extremely helpful during the whole process.
We appreciate your help getting that first two, Chuck. That was great. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a couple of questions before you go to the clerk's report. You were, oh, this ain't even working, so. All right. The Odelson Stirk that was taken over the District 218, you were saying, can you tell me exactly how much it's going to be saving us?
Well, right now, we split that bill with the school districts, and we're actually picking up, Ken, what do you think? What do you think we're picking up? Maybe 10% of that?
Yeah, it's not a huge dollar amount, but as the mayor said, we were paying a law firm. This way we're paying a law firm that's already doing the work, because frankly it's the high school districts and mainly the high school districts that do it. The elementary school districts do a certain percentage. This allows us just to piggyback. So it allows us to reduce our costs, but we're not talking something overly huge. 10,000, I'm not exactly sure, but we're not talking hundreds of thousands of dollars
It
here.
always depends on whether there's a need. If somebody's protesting their property taxes, and, if there's a property tax appeal, that's all this really is. If Olson Sturck's already at the table representing them, why wouldn't they just take care of ours too? Because this way, we're not spreading out more money to a third attorney at the same time. Takes an effort off our back. We're not putting out money for these guys.
There are occasional instances where we might want to do something that the high school district doesn't, because we have slightly different looks at things. And in that case, we'd hire, it'd be a very rare event, but we would hire them directly. But I can't imagine that happens once every 4 or 5 years.
And in the past, they've made the recommendations of what the cost would be in comparison to whether we did or we didn't, and we'd know that prior to going forth with it.
So, in the past, it actually goes before the board to say, this is the recommendation of the attorney. I don't know if that's the same thing they'd have with Odelson and Sturck. Odelson and Sturck, however, the marginal cost is minimal because in 99% of the cases, they're already there. So I don't know whether that would still be necessary. That's something that I guess could be discussed as to whether it's a board decision to appeal that particular PTAB. But their costs should be very minimal compared to, because there's very little additional work.
And again, we're not bringing in a third attorney, and if we are now. We allowed Robin Schwartzberg to represent us for the last 2 seasons. There's no reason that we should add the extra layer of attorney in there. Let's just take them out, and as Ken just said, and I said, if Olson and Sturck's already at the meeting, let them have our part of the thing too. That's all. They're already representing us here at the Village Hall. Might as well represent us at the detail.
What exactly are they going to take over this? The 218?
They always have.
For us, when are they taking over?
Next time there's a
Next time somebody asks for one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's only on an as requested basis.
And
You don't get PTAB appeals that often. They come through every couple times a year. We've had
you're probably 4 or 5 a year or something like
that's
that.
That's what I'm saying. We have one in the last every 3 months.
Right.
So.
But the ones that are already in the pipeline, sometimes they take a while. My guess is that those will stay at Robin Schwartz. They'll finish out whatever they've got. But the new ones make sense to lower the cost.
I believe they just did. That's what I was bringing up tonight. I didn't want to get in front of anything until they wrapped it up. So.
But they may have still a few older ones out there. We'd have to check.
Again, they're so sporadic, it's hardly worth it.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. First is presentation of the February 2019 IDOT motor fuel tax allotment in the amount of $38,038.11. The second thing on the agenda is it is once again vehicle sticker season. Yay, clerk's office. Number 2 is discussion of amending Chapter 19 Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 4, Motor Vehicle Licenses for Vehicle Stickers. Over the past couple of seasons, Kent has put together this magnificent spreadsheet that kind of rolls up and inflates, or increases, I should say is the correct word, vehicle stickers as necessary. Currently, going into this season, based on the last projection provided, most of the vehicle licenses would be remaining the same. However, RVs would be increasing $5, as well as Class K, Class L, Class P, and Class Q are all increasing $5. Over the past couple of years, the regular car sticker has been $35. We have had the seniors moved 2 years ago to be $5. We had the disabled to be at a cost of $0. I had conversation with Mr. Frater a few weeks back discussing adjusting the cost of the discounted stickers. There's a couple of issues. The main one is there's quite a bit of pushback to the ladies in the clerk's office regarding the difference in the cost between a free sticker and a discounted sticker of $5. The ordinance currently has, you are only allowed one discounted sticker per household. That will remain the same. What I am proposing is to streamline things and make things more consistent, as well as not being a detriment to Mr. Frater's budget, is, again, I discussed this with him, I would like to adjust the disabled sticker to be $5, the same as seniors. Both sets of individuals are on fixed incomes, as well as, again, discuss this with Mr. Frater, I would like to offer veterans a discounted sticker one per household at $5. So what I'm asking for is the board's approval to move forward with maintaining the senior sticker at $5, adjusting the disabled to $5, and adding an option to a veteran to have a $5 sticker as well. To support that, we cannot detrimentally to Mr. Frater's budget bring the seniors down. A number of senior stickers that were sold last year brought in almost $12,000. The amount of disabled stickers, had they been purchased, would have been barely $300. The cost for the sticker itself, as well as all of the work that goes into it with doing the mailers and the mailing itself, as well as the time of the clerk's staff to break even, is just about $3 a sticker. So again, I would like to ask the board to approve the adjusted amount of $5 to be across the board for seniors, disabled, and veterans. And if that is approved, I would then work with the attorney to adjust the language in the ordinance, as well as tighten up some of the ordinance as far as what supporting document is approved, because we've had some issues there with residents coming in with not complete documentation.
So for veterans, you expect them to present their DD 214?
Whatever is the case, I will work with the attorney to present that, to label that.
Do you have an estimate of the quantity of those individuals?
No, I do not, sir.
I didn't build that in the budget. So I'd like an estimate if we come up with one.
I mean, I applaud the idea. It's just that to come up with that notion and have a determination of exactly what that financial impact would be, especially to
see if we can figure that out. But,
especially to a cash-strapped fund.
Well, and that was the reason of also bringing the disabled up to $5 as well. So I can certainly see if there's any way we can have any records in town of veterans.
I think that the quantity of disabled, if it's $5 per person and there would have been $300 generated, I think you're going to see a significant amount of those that are veterans
decreasing.
And the decrease from that to $5 is going to be quite an impact as opposed to an increase of $5 for the disabled. And I don't like the idea of the disabled.
$30
Right.
per vet sticker.
Yep.
How many vets are there? This is a real question.
There's more than 10.
I will see if we
10 in this room.
can determine that number and get some information out to you. As far as the disabled going to $5, is that approved?
We have to put down for it.
I understand. I'm just looking for a consensus so I can put it on the agenda.
It wouldn't be by me.
I don't think it's fair to ask the question at this time. I think you have to put that on the agenda and let everybody.
And
you're missing two trustees tonight, too, so.
I understand.
Let's put on the agenda and if that's your wish, and go.
Okay. And then it's all me right.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to the public forum portion of our meeting. Myra Davis, is that Myra? Thank you. Come on, please. Myra Davis of 3621 125th Street. Want to address the board regarding damage to the mailbox this season by the village from snowplow. That was Davis. Come on up. Sorry, I know you got a chance to see our we'll have this fixed. He actually tested all these mics this morning. Everything worked, and tonight we have no problem. So, please, thank you, folks.
Good evening, everyone. We are the Davises from Deer Park subdivision of Alsip. And we're here because the village of Alsip is damaged to our property, and we're just trying to find out what happened, what's going to be going on with it. And my wife and I, we are 20-year residents of Alsip. Always paid our taxes and voted in every election, done community service with Alsip, so we like Alsip. But we understand that accidents do happen. So we never thought we would be here for something like this. And my wife would like to say.
So like my husband said, we're just trying to get some understanding as to how Alsip can damage our property, and then we're responsible for paying for it. And it's a huge amount of money. We have to pay to have the mailbox chopped up, removed, and then another mailbox, which is pretty costly for us. And we just can't understand how we have to bear the burden of the cost of the mailbox.
Okay.
And then also, as far as the response times, we called 8 times to find out anything from February 13th until March 18th, and I finally spoke to the mayor,
right,
who was extremely kind and very helpful. So we really would like to find out why we have to pay for this, and it's hundreds of dollars.
Okay.
So it's not like it's $100.
Right. Okay. So I'll certainly just to give everybody an overview. I am familiar with the case. I saw pictures over the winter. One of our snowplows hit the Davis's mailbox. The Davises have a very nice brick.
We had a very nice brick mailbox.
It was the brick mailboxes that with the glass block were on the top. Very nice, you know. It was out to the, you know, on your property. It was out to the curb, and unfortunately, one of the snowplows hit it. And a few years ago, I know we put an ordinance in place that said we do reimburse up to $100 for a knockdown mailbox. And obviously, you had yours is nicer than most. Let's put it that way. But I'll let the commissioner speak to it. Public Works Superintendent speak to it.
So yeah, one of our snowplow trucks did damage Davis's mailbox. It is a brick mailbox. These things can and do happen, unfortunately. Davis's did call. Spoke with my secretary during that time. We didn't have any answers yet. We were still waiting on reports. We were still reviewing the ordinance, trying to see what direction we were going to go with this. Based on the ordinance that was passed in 2014, it stated that all custom-made brick mailboxes, if damaged by a snowplow, would be reimbursed up to $100. Obviously, this mailbox was installed before 2014. After it was struck, the plow driver did notify the Davises that it was struck. We put up a temporary mailbox so that they could receive mail during that time until we could come to some sort of a conclusion as to what we're going to do with repairs. I did speak with Mr. Davis late last week or early last week. I stated to him that unfortunately Public Works would not be able to repair this mailbox. We're not masonry workers. I had asked that he could submit some sort of repair bills for possible reimbursement, but it may only be up to $100. Again, the approach to the board is to where you want to go with reimbursement on this.
For the life of me, I just cannot understand, like I said, Alsip damaged our property. So we'll be out of hundreds of dollars if we have to pay for it ourselves. And we've gotten estimates already.
And actually, that's something we got Mike, right?
Yes.
He was nice. He was nice about it too. But actually, that's one reason why we're here, because like I say, that we understand that, you know, even if we can't be made whole with it, you know, maybe Alsip can reach us halfway. So I understand that we won't do a brick mailbox again, because that is just too costly.
Right.
You know, we'll just go with the standard one, you know. But
And I actually, I had Public Works go out to your place last week or so, and I actually asked my guys to see what you can do about maybe, unfortunately, the way it was constructed, I mean, it's a good-looking mailbox, but unfortunately, it was, we can't put it back together. And we were going to try and put Humpty Dumpty back up there.
we're not looking for that.
No, but obviously, I wanted to see what we can do in our best capacity to try and help you with this, even if it meant some aesthetically, but Mike says we can't get that thing to stand back up.
Exactly. That's why I hired the guy. He got to come out with a sledgehammer. We're going to break it up.
Right.
And
Which
move
we
it to the
have to
side.
pay
Which
for.
we have to pay for. But also, that's, like I say, if Alsip could just meet us halfway with this stack, and he's going to put just the standard post mailbox in. But if we can, you know, like I say, we have to break this other one up. Alsip could send over a truck to help us, you know, haul this debris away.
So we don't have to pay for that. I mean,
And,
because
you
we
know,
didn't have
that'll
to
show
pay
our
for
neighbors
that.
and residents that, you know, Alsip, we care.
Mayor,
Yes.
we voted on this 2014. If that mailbox was there before, we shouldn't preclude that. So, in my opinion, and I voted for it, actually reluctantly, anyone who builds one after that ordinance went into effect, they had due notice. These people had theirs built before then. I don't think we should retroactively apply it to them. I think that we're responsible, and we should make it right.
Can I ask you, Mr. Davis, how much, what is your estimate on that?
Would you like to see it?
Sure. Okay, so just for the benefit of the public, it's a, cut down the existing brick mailbox into manageable sized pieces, trash that, see what they can. Okay, there's a description of a new mailbox on here. Basically, $846 to reconstruct this mailbox, with half down the other half once the work is done.
Which we paid half already. So.
I see. Yeah, it's got minus 423 on there.
Only because we are tired of putting the mailbox laying down in our house. Extremely tired of it.
You know, certainly, I understand and what Trustee Delzell is saying, and actually, we're looking at a couple of things lately, folks. Even residents that put in like underground sprinkler systems. It seems silly, but we're actually doing that right now too. Like sometimes you'll have a sprinkler guy come in, and he's got pipes like in X shape and underneath your grass, and here we're trying to fix a water main or something. And also, we just broke a sprinkler system, and we assumed responsibility for that too. So, unfortunately, these things do happen sometimes, and it's residual. And I've been in the construction business like many people, and these kind of things happen sometimes. I think to approve an expenditure like this, though, Trustee, we probably have to put this on like the agenda next week in order to get the full support of the board, so it's not just one opinion, folks. So if you bear with us, certainly I don't mind asking the question. And Trustee Delzell makes a good point that maybe because this was constructed prior to our ordinance, obviously he didn't even have a chance to comply or even actually understand what we were going for. I know I did identify, Mike, you and I were looking at something too, that maybe we can put a little more in there too as far as a setback.
The United States Postal Service actually has a standard for setback on mailboxes. I did issue you a copy of their standard, so this one was clearly right up against the back of the curb. It didn't meet the U.S. Postal Service guidelines.
That's what
And again, and that was by no means a Davis guideline, that was by the contractor for those homes at the time when they were built. And
Yeah, because like I was saying, Mike, that when it was built, and we called the village of Alsip back then, that was like 15, 20 years ago. And the village of Alsip was the one that gave us the instructions on how to put it in.
Yes.
So that's why I was there.
All right. Well,
Along with U.S. Postal. We called them as well.
No, it's a fair question, folks, and certainly it's, accidents happen, and we get a lot of praise for the way we clean the streets, and obviously our guy got a little bit close. But, let me put this on the agenda for next week and ask the board if they consider, splitting this with you. Okay? All right, thank you very much, folks. Carol.
Well, I really didn't want to split it, to be honest. I think Alsip should be responsible for it. Because Alsip damaged our property.
I agree.
We can go that route too, you know, certainly I can answer that question.
Yes.
That's
Sign
my
in, please.
concern, is that it's completely paid for.
Make sure we have a copy of the quotation so that we know.
You know what?
Why can't your guys hit it again and put it in manageable pieces?
We could have operated it.
Do you have a copy of that, Mr. Davis, already?
Hey, you just handed it to me.
You got one for yourself already?
Yes, I can print one out at home.
All right, I'm gonna ask the board that question, you know, if we go full or half, whatever, but I'm missing two trustees tonight, so I don't wanna speak for them.
Yep, nope, that's fine. Thank you.
If you can, quit for the floor.
Absolutely, no, I'm gonna ask both questions, absolutely. All right, well, thank you for coming out. All right, thanks, Mr. Davis. Anybody else wish to address the board this evening?
One that complies with
Oh, I'm sorry.
the requirements now. That's included in the cost.
Mr. Singh, yes.
For the same thing, like to get the slot machines if you can, the license, the space too, that's the extra heavy,
Right. Mr. Singh, how big is your, Mr. Singh owns the Citgo, Heart Love, the Lawler, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Harry, how big is your store right now?
Store is 2,500 square feet.
2,500?
Yes.
Good, okay. That's kind of where I'm going with Mr. Singh, is I wanted to kind of identify a footprint
Yes.
to what can be done and stuff too, so. So you brought this in, obviously, I appreciate, obviously, you're watching our, you're watching our village agendas and so forth, because I think, you and I have talked about this a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I apologize, I haven't had a chance to see you in the last 2 weeks. No, Mr. Singh, I tell you what, you at least, the 2,500 seems like a decent footprint too that you have over at your place. I've had a few in town that are a little bit smaller, but we want to make sure that at least, like I was talking about, that you're not crowding, let's just say crowding your gasoline customers at the same time. So, at this time, Mr. Singh, I guess the big question is to the board next week would be, are we going to allow this? And that's what I'm going to put on the agenda. And Harry, I appreciate you coming out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you would, Harry, can you sign it? So clerk knows who came out.
Thank you.
Good, sir.
And Mayor, my name is John Barkamp. I run the business development team for Excel Entertainment. We're the largest terminal operator in the country.
Okay.
We're the ones that are, that we work with Mr. Singh. Actually, we handled 7-Eleven. So if you guys have any questions, tonight, it sounds like there might be a couple things still hanging out there before you make a decision. I'm more than happy to answer any questions on the behalf, but I know this particular location will bring in about $19,000 to the village based on the proposals that we set forth. And when we put them in existing stations like this, it just helps them compete. Because as we know, we put them in new places because it's just, their revenue is important. And I'm here, I put a card in there. I'm happy to answer any questions the village has.
Yeah, no, I was just saying what you're saying. I think the 2,500 square foot footprint seemed like a reasonable one to me.
Yes.
I really don't want to get much smaller than that, because again, we still want to see the aspect of retail sales happening on the stores.
Yeah, he has a perfect
It's just going to be gas and game.
Right.
That kind of thing. So,
Understood. We support that.
You got to have room, obviously, even the privacy element in it too.
Correct.
It has to be established at the same time.
Correct. There's the renderings in there of what we think would look like where we want it, and we'd certainly meet any conditions that the city might have that would differ from that.
The big commitment that a lot of establishments are going to make like yours is, and Mr. Singh is, You're only gonna be hiring people, you know, it's not the old days of having the kids working at the gas station anymore. I mean, you're gonna have to have 21 and older personnel at all these locations.
Yeah, you were spot on with 21 and older line of sight.
Right.
And to answer your question about serving, yeah, you could limit it to if somebody comes in and they're served, they have the game. Other places do it was they could have it inside, but you wouldn't really want that because then you're loitering outside and it just deters people from coming in. So you guys are really on the right path with that.
We've seen some establishments in town that put up some good-looking barriers between the public and the gaming, and even I've seen many with the half walls with the continued glass on top and stuff on too.
That's probably the most popular divider that we use. In this case, the space is a little different, so we were just thinking of a stanchion, but we could certainly look at other options. We have temporary walls that we would come put up. You know, we certainly want to comply with the city across the board.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. You also, sir. Thank you.
Yep, sure.
Mayor, I'd like to see a vertical in this. You know, the artist rendition is nice. The before and after, it shows a lot of stock sitting there in front of the window, and it'd be nice to know where that stock is going to go. While the rendition shows where the proposed location is going to be, it doesn't indicate the size and how the reconfiguration is going to be. As I'm looking at this after, it appears like one of the gaming machines is directly in front of one of the coolers. You can't see the depth. So
It's about 18 feet wide and about 6. We need about 6 feet. That includes what we call the VGT or the video game terminal, the chair if it was pushed in, and then some additional space when you push back the chair. So that, with the chair all the way pushed back, represents about 6 feet, no more than 6.5 feet to be comfortable for the gamers, and in this case, the folks that are going to be shopping in the aisles. This spot fits the depth perfectly fine, and we fit right into that. It's about 17.5 feet, 18, about 18 feet.
I was going 18 by 18.
You were spot on.
Okay.
Yeah, your size estimates were spot on, and that's what we're up against.
the difficulty that I see is that, again, in the rendition that's here, I'm a wide fella, and I think I'd be blocking the aisle here if I was looking at something.
Mind if I see what you're looking, just to make sure I can speak to what you're.
Yeah. Your rendition here.
Yes.
You have a thin lady. I'm not that thin lady.
Nor am I.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that is. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It is deeper than that.
Well, what I'm saying is that if they have to walk between what this is
The
and
stanchions
this is,
and those, the rendition.
depth perception is, as soon as they
that's all computer generated, so the
if
depth
it was a
perception on
vertical.
that looks different. Correct. Well,
Yeah.
Plan view.
I'll be more than
Yeah.
So from up, I
Yeah,
can absolutely definitely do
that'd be better. And
Can I drop that off during the week, or I can do the board meeting?
Sure. You know what, if you would, John, you get a card, please, from my assistant. They can send it in.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else wish to address the board this evening? Nobody? All right, thank you. We'll move on to standing committee reports. Finance Committee, Trustee McGraw.
All right, under finance, I will have a list of payroll and accounts payable for approval next week. Also at this time, the finance director has asked for a discussion on the use of Santori Energy to bid our electric rates.
Yeah.
So some of you may recognize Santori Energy as Energy Choices. That was the company they were before. Bidding electricity is a more complicated thing due to spot prices or any energy. And so the village has hired since 2008 this company to put our electric, a lot of our electric accounts, basically the business ones, out to bid. So that's street lights, 3 lift stations, pumping stations, those type of accounts. Last time we did it was 3 years ago. At the end of this year, those 3 years will be up. It's time to do this again. Because the developments in shale energy, the cost of electricity has actually gone down during those 3 years. And so by putting this out to bid, we're expecting to save somewhere around $19,000 a year for the new 3-year contract. They put it out instantaneously to about 10 to 12 companies, depending on who's bidding, and you will get a spot price. There's 2 ways we can do this. The way we've traditionally done it is we've done it on the day of the board meeting, and they'll hold that price to get through the end of the board meeting, and then I go upstairs and say, yes, the board agreed at the best price. The other way to do it, because it doesn't move so much in the way that they're starting to move with these ordinances, is to say that I have a little bit of leeway, and I can execute within the next day or 2 at that, somewhere within that price. Either one does work. They prefer the second one, but the first one, frankly, we have an ordinance that we can mirror pretty quickly. Essentially, you'll end up with the same price either way. Again, the good news is we're going to save about $19,000. Shell has already started to be there last time, so the previous time we saved $9,000 a year. It probably won't happen that big of a savings next time around, but maybe we'll get lucky again. So that's what it is. It's something that we do every few years, and it's just that time to lock in those savings. The only other thing I would mention is this company, we haven't done this in the past, but this company also does natural gas. And we do a lot of natural gas mainly because of the heritage apartments. So it's on the commercial account. So it's not something we've done with this company, but again, we've used this company since 2008, and these are the types of bids that can't really be done by the clerk in a meeting like this. It's spot prices. You have to have expertise in this area. The company is paid for by whoever does the winning bid.
Thank you, Ken.
If you want me to inquire further about the natural gas, I'd be happy to do that.
Very good. Anything else, trustees?
Just in an FYI that we do have our budget hearing scheduled for next Monday prior to the board meeting. Unless we come up with a reason why we need to postpone, but it has already been advertised for approval next week.
I think we're looking pretty good so far, yes.
Yeah, that's all I have under finance.
Thank you. Trustee, the fire committee report?
Okay, item number 1 under fire is discussion regarding a request to approve replacement of the ladder on the fire.
Right. Our ladder truck is 17 years old. It was purchased in 2002.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I have no. Yeah. Right.
All right, so our ladder truck was purchased in 2002. It's a 100-foot ladder. It is 17 years old. It has seen a lot of wear and tear on the ladder. We just had the hydraulics repaired within the last month, and while they're doing the inspection on it, they found what they call wear pads. And what it is devices that are between the sections of the ladder so you don't have steel on steel. They are wearing thin. We had one piece break off. The only way to fix that is you have to have the ladder completely torn apart and they have to be replaced. The only one that will do that will be the manufacturer of the ladder. Nobody else will touch any other manufacturer's ladder. So the ladder truck has to be brought up to Clintonville, Wisconsin, Seagrave, where we purchased it from. It has to be put on the line with all the other new fire apparatus. It has to be completely dismantled, and then they replace the parts on that. So the cost is $155,000, providing that there's no other damage. So right now, with the pictures that they've been sent by our service company, that's what we're looking at right now. It is an essential piece of equipment based on the type of village we have, since we are mostly commercial and industrial, not just 100% residential. It is used quite a bit. Since 2002, it has a little over 28,000 miles on it, and has a little over almost 3,400 hours on it. It is stationed at our fire station 2, so it goes on to all fire calls that comes out of station 2, as well as vehicle accidents as well. So it is an essential piece of equipment that we have based on the type of need that we have in our village.
Chief, and I cleared this up right with the budget. We do have that already included. Our budget, our general fund actually looks pretty good so far this year. But we did say it was $155,000, and that did include the greaseless wear fittings.
Correct. As long as they have it apart, they'll take care of that at one time. The ladder is scheduled to be replaced in 2026 based on the vehicle replacement program that was established, about 2000, Chuck, 99, something right around there. So it has to last 7 more years. If you don't want to spend $155,000 and you want to buy a brand new ladder truck for exactly what we have right now, you're looking at about $1 million. So
we talked about that.
Yes, yeah, big
Obviously,
difference
we're
in price.
I mean,
It's lasted 17 years, so by fixing it now, I don't see it having a problem for the next 7 or 8 years. And if I can get a consensus, because we want to try to move on this, the other reason being is we also have to schedule with them. It's going to be out of service for 2 months, and we have to drive it up there and make all the arrangements. So the sooner we can do that, the quicker we can get it back. So
Time to get it on the list.
beautiful. Yes.
Thank you.
Trustees, we get a consensus, please? Is that good? Trustee Zelinski, you okay with that too?
Absolutely.
I'll have to decide.
All right, thank you, Trustees. Mary.
Thank you.
Okay, well, you're standing there.
Yeah, I'm
I'd also like to attend the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association Annual Symposium from May 15th through the 17th. It's costing $1,590. First, where is the...
It's in East Peoria, Illinois. It's same place it is every year. I am a member of the executive board for the Illinois Fire Chief, so it is one of my responsibilities.
So no, I'm asking why, because do you also need hotel?
Right, 2 rooms, right. I have to be down there on the 15th, and I come home on the 17th.
So is the $390 just the registration?
No, that's with the hotel also.
So the
Yes.
total cost of everything? Okay,
Correct,
just
yes.
wanted to clarify.
Yes.
Okay. I have no other questions.
Thank you.
So,
And that is all I have under fire this evening.
thank you. So, as a matter of record, then, approximate cost is $155,000. Consensus was approved to send the fire truck up to Seagrave to have the wear pans replaced. Actually, replace the whole ladder. I apologize.
Not the whole, no, it's just to take the ladder apart, fix what has to be on. It's not to replace the whole ladder.
I thought maybe we get the ladder.
Oh, you're looking at about $400,000 just for the ladder itself.
That's
So
what it says. It says discussion regarding your request to approve the replacement of the ladder.
yes, to refurbish the ladder.
To refurbish the ladder.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
And I'll catch up with you sometime this week for the contract then and all that too.
All right.
Thank you.
Police committee report committee.
Discussion to proceed with the process to hire 1 police officer for the May Academy. Making this hire will temporarily put us over the ordinance. We have an officer relocating out of state as soon as May, and with the academy being 16 weeks long, plus the 12-week training program, we would like to make the hire now. Next academy after the May date is September. And presentation of the February 2019 monthly activity report. Are there questions on item 1?
Chief, do you need a consensus tonight, or is it okay to put it on the board for next week?
It's okay to put it on the board.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Next was the Public Work and Boat Launch Committee.
Request for approval to hire 6 full-time temporary public works seasonal employees, each to work 40 hours a week for a maximum of 14 weeks at a rate of $11 per hour. Number 2, a request for approval to hire 2 part-time boat launch seasonal employees, each to work 12 to 16 hours per week at a rate of $11 per hour from May 24th through October 31st, 2019. And that's all I have, sir.
Mike, I'm sure we probably have our boat launch guys. Are they still interested in doing that again this season?
I have one that is still interested in returning. The other one I've been informed is not returning. So
Okay.
currently am looking for another.
It's a great job for a senior out there. That's okay. Thank you.
Do we post that on the village website?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Great.
Yes. And actually, I've kind of joke with folks, but I'm serious when I say it. It's a very difficult job to work at the boat launch. People don't think it is.
People get very impatient over there.
Let's see you sit out there for 2 hours, on the CalSag, and, at whatever shift they work and stuff. And too, it's a difficult thing to do. I appreciate what those guys do too. It's a hard thing. So, next, the building committee, Trustee Zelinski.
I have a request for approval to hire 2 part-time summer personnel for a period not to exceed 14 weeks. That's all I have tonight, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Sewer and water, Trustee Gonzalez.
I have the request for approval to hire 4 part-time summer personnel for a period not to exceed 14 weeks. And then secondly, the request for approval to purchase water meters and the FlexNet radios at a cost not to exceed $19,370. The purchase is for the ongoing replacement of residential meters, and it has been appropriated for the fiscal year 19 budget. That's all I have, Mayor.
Very good, thank you. License committee.
Under license, we have a list of licenses dated March 8th through March 21st.
Economic Development Committee, Trustee Murphy.
Discussion to hire Kane McKenna and Associates, Inc. for the purpose of researching and advising on the creation of a redevelopment area around Cicero Avenue. This is a company that we hired before. Roger, Early, Kent, the mayor, and myself, we did take a ride along Cicero Avenue a couple weeks ago and did identify a lot of properties that perhaps could be incentivized. We definitely want to try to keep economic development moving in the right direction as far as bringing in new businesses to town, and I think this would be a very good thing. Ken?
Kane McKenna is also known as our financial consultant for the Village of Alsip.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mayor. They actually have 2 roles. They do more than one financial thing. They help advise us on bonds. So they do that role. This is not what we're talking about here. They're also experts in economic incentives for businesses and in business development. They have a very narrow area that we use them for, and looking at potential areas and seeing what kind of economic incentives we can is right up their specialty area. It's a company we've used many times before for a lot more than a decade, my understanding, and there's a lot of demand for looking at the Cicero area and some areas around that, and seeing there's been businesses that have called both the mayor and myself saying, we'd like to come, but we can't quite make this work. Is there anything you can offer? So they're kind of would be going around trying to figure out if there were economic incentives that made sense in that area. And this would be to formalize it under the ordinance for accounts payable. The mayor and I could help them up to certain, could spend up to a certain dollar amount to do that, but we thought it made more sense to come directly to the board and sort of present it to the board rather than just within the mayor's budget.
That's fine. And we're not saying what tools we're going to use yet. We're going to bring these back to the board once we put a plan in place, and we're not just looking at Cicero Avenue. We're actually looking at parcels down 127th Street as well, then too. So we are going to ask for the board to approve their services. They do have we do have a rate, and then she's going to get that back to us. She told us the other day when we met.
Yeah, it really depends up to, we would have that, put something on there in terms of a rate for next meeting. It really depends on what kind of incentives that we're looking to do. It could range anywhere from 8,000 to somewhere around 30,000. If we do more of a full plan, it could very easily run up to the $30,000 range. It just depends on how extensive of a plan we're putting forward and what kind of economic tools we would be using should the board want to go that direction.
Thank you. Next, plan and zoning, trustee Zelinski.
No report tonight, Mayor. But I have a question on that, what we were just discussing, that $8,000 to $30,000, is that just for consulting or is that for actually implementing something as well?
It actually be a little bit of both. I mean, it's not just consult. Go ahead.
8,000 is more on the side of looking and consulting. If there is plans that needed to be implemented, that's where you get towards the $30,000. So it's both sides. If it turns out that they just look at it and say, well, this little area, you could do something here, this area is good for 6Bs and it's probably all you want to do, or this is a business development district, you could do that here, or this is a TIF district, you could do that here. Those ones have very different values. To say 6Bs in this area is very inexpensive. If you went all the way to a TIF, that'd be very expensive with a business district somewhere in between.
Thank you.
Special committee reports, village properties, trustee Laura.
Okay, under village properties, Roger would like to hire a total of 6 part-time employees, not to exceed 14 weeks. 2 of those part-timers will work at Village Hall, 2 for Heritage 1, and 2 for Heritage 2. And that's all I have.
Okay. It should say $11. That's,
yes.
so on the next agenda, it should also be similar in wording to Mike's wording.
Right. Thank you. The insurance committee?
No report this evening, sir.
Ordinance and legislation, trustee Murphy.
No report, sir.
Trustee, I was just speaking with one of the business owners a little while ago, and I do want to bring to the board's attention, I think it's important maybe we identify a small problem. It does happen though too, and I think it only fair in the interest of good business. We're going to take a look at either amending our current ordinance or possibly drafting a new one regarding that would prohibit dropping off semi-trailers in front of, like on streets, even in the industrial parks, especially in front of somebody else's business. Occasionally you do have some businesses, or even drivers for that matter, they might be swapping loads and whatnot. That doesn't mean a business owner has to all of a sudden incur somebody else's truck out in front of their place, and especially to have those skids be dropped, like the pads from the semis dropped on our streets that we pay good money for. We ran into a couple situations where their tractor is getting serviced, and they don't have room for the tractor and the trailer at the service garage, and all of a sudden they're dropping off a trailer in front of somebody else's business. Well, we understand it's a public street, but it's highly, it doesn't belong. It's highly unusual that somebody would do that, but they do it. They drop off a trailer in front of somebody's business for half a day. It's like, it's like leaving a garbage truck parked in front of my house. Why would I want that? So I think it's important that we actually establish an ordinance, because we don't have one right now, that prohibits leaving semi-trailers on the street for a period of time in front of somebody's business, or even at all. So I am looking in that, and I'll certainly consult with our attorney to see if it's worth amending our current one, because we have an ordinance right now that says you can't leave a semi-truck parked on the street for longer than 2 hours. So maybe we look at this and see if we can tweak it, or otherwise we'll just look to get a new one done too.
So what they're also saying is that they're dropping the whole trailer and then driving away?
Well, they're leaving the trailer so it can go down to a garage for the tractor to be serviced. And in the meantime, the trailer's laying out in front of somebody else's business. And again, we pay good money for those streets, and at some point, if it's hot enough, it might just dig the street up and stuff. But I appreciate the business owner bringing that to our attention, and certainly we're going to look into that.
Hey,
Yes.
Can I go back to the insurance committee for a sec, just to give an update on what you guys talked about?
Sure.
I apologize, we didn't get it on the agenda. For your discussion in here last Monday, HR manager Sinead Hunter and I put together an RFP. It wasn't, there was no specific person was said to do the RFP, but both Trustee McGreal and the mayor asked the two of us to put together an RFP. We did that. We did get it out to the two companies that had been discussed. The attorney who reviewed it said it was kind of a fast turnaround to go much beyond that. We did put it on the website as well, I believe. We requested I believe it's on there where the normal RFPs are. So I just wanted to give you guys an update that the RFP for all of those services that go through 4/30 were put out last week.
What is the due date on it?
It is April 1st.
Okay.
And just so you know, if they have questions about the procedure and timing and turning it in, they are to be sealed bids to your office, and your name is listed if they had questions on that side of it.
Okay, thank you, Ken.
Good catch, thank you, Ken. We'll finish.
Thanks, Sinead.
We'll talk, the IT committee, Trustee Delzell.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Human Resource Committee?
Discussion on village-wide sexual harassment training to be conducted.
Absolutely.
And we have Sinead.
Want to take a seat?
I make it too comfortable.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you this evening? Talking about the sexual harassment training, the village obviously has a policy in place and an ordinance in regards to sexual harassment. However, we would like to implement some type of employee training on the topic to basically review how to identify it, how to report it, different types of sexual harassment. So something to consider will be as far as how extensive do we want to take the training. Will it be something that includes all employees, meaning everyone who is on village payroll, which will include commissioners and trustees. Currently, police and fire do conduct sexual harassment training through their own program. I know that police, I believe, utilizes the LexiPol program. So I have identified a web-based training program that employees can do through a webinar, and so basically they can log on, they can start and stop. It's approximately 30 to 45 minutes long. Again, so it's just a matter of also reviewing if we want all employees to take this one standard training, including police and fire. If we choose to let police and fire continue with their training, maybe just making sure that those training records make it to human resources. So any questions regarding that?
What do you think about initiating that?
Well, I did spend a few weeks putting in the employees' profile information, because with this program we did have to enter every employee profile by department, all their email addresses. So that is now completed. So if we put together a standard program, again, on who's going to be required, and then also the frequency, if this is something that we are going to make required once a year for everyone. But all of that is done, so once we have that in place, we can just go.
Very good. Thanks, Sinead. Appreciate it.
I know that my company does it every year. It is pretty standard in the private sector, and it's the right thing to do. And it keeps us out of litigation. And I think that we should not only implement it, but also make everyone have the same program, just so same training. I know that police, you just mentioned that police and fire have their own, but have one, and they deal with every village employee take it. This way we can compare apples to apples and go that route.
And I say, and company I work for takes it actually a step further and makes all of the employees actually sign a letter that says, yes, I have read the policy, I agree with it.
Well, that will be the great thing about this program is that once they complete it, I will get a receipt back for it, that they have completed the training. So that will add to our record keeping, and there's like little quizzes in between too to make sure that they are comprehending the content as far as identifying the different types of harassment as well.
Listen, I mean, my company does do it all electronically, and they do have the date and timestamp and all that information, but again, we take it a step further and actually require all the employees to sign a document that, because again, in front of a computer, you can have anybody sitting there.
But it's one thing to have the training, it's another thing to acknowledge the fact that you've got a procedure or policy to that regard, and I don't think that we have a universal policy. I know that the board was given the opportunity to adopt one, and for whatever reasons we didn't.
Oh, no, I think we did. We just, some people voted against it.
But, yeah, we had, and I know the police department has their own policy with regards, I assume the fire department does, I don't know if the other departments have it, but one of those caveats is that they have to acknowledge the fact that they know that it's there, they review it, understand it.
When would this take place?
Well, we can do and implement it as soon as possible. I have the system set up now with all of the profiles, so we can implement it as soon as possible. Again, because it is something that, they will log on to their emails and do it. It's about 30-40 minutes. I would say maybe give it like a 15 to 30-day window for all employees to complete. That's the typical standard.
I was just thinking for the ones that are up here that some people may be here, some people may not be in the next 30 to 45 days. So
wow.
I'm just saying that there could be changes. I don't know if it's...
Checking my pulse.
With this one, another question is, would this have to be ratified by collective bargaining agreements?
On this employee training, so it shows that will go under your management rights.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anything else?
Okay.
Number two, the discussion on finance and HR review of the village 457B plans.
So this came up again. We've been starting a bit over a year now. Seeing that we have quite a few vendors that are providing the supplemental and voluntary insurance. With that in place, we have been having some issues in the payroll, and I know that's more of a finance department than myself, but some of the issues that we've been coming across is we have a lot of deduction codes in the payroll system. And because of all of the different vendors that we're having, they're now starting to group those codes as other. This presents an issue when you have someone who needs an income verification, such as purchasing a home. The banks are basically coming back when we're doing these verifications and saying, what's other? So now we're having to go into their pay register and try to identify the different types of income to make up that total. And it's becoming a headache, to say the least. Second thing is also, again, more so on the payroll side, is the loan management. We have so many different 457 programs, so many of them offer loans and multiple loans. So you can have an employee who has, it could be as many as 4 loans. Again, this isn't something that the village is contributing to, but it is something that our administrative hours are going towards, and it's something that we do have to manage, even when someone is doing loans on their 457s. So we are asking, again, just consideration to start consolidating some of these programs.
Can I say the other side of it, or were you going there?
Okay, I know you can jump in.
It is management, it does make it easier on finance, but that one, I don't mean to cut you off, were you about to go the real reason, the big reason?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, you can stay there because you make it get more technical than I can. But then, was it about the performance? Okay. So, and then also we had someone from Wells Fargo Advisory who actually offered to come in and evaluate all of our current plans. In doing so, they did find that a lot of our plans, they're not performing well, or the expense ratios for those funds are higher than what they could be. And so they have offered to implement a newer program with light funds, and will have a lesser expense ratio, which will mean a more that our employees can have in their funds overall. So before making any moves with anything and consolidating, I did ask if they can come out and have meetings with our employees. And so we do have that scheduled for next week actually. April 4th will be in the village boardroom at 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and then 6:30 p.m. And then they will also conduct a meeting at the firehouse on April 9th, 10th, and 11th, because again, we want to make sure that they are able to hit all shifts, and that those meetings will take place at 1:30 p.m.
Yeah, so I just want to state again, it does help the finance a little bit, but the real thing is people are trying to save, employees are trying to save for their retirement, and the tools that they've been given access to with the current 457 plans, 457 for those who in school districts, it's somewhat similar to 403B, to people in the business world, 401ks. This is a savings vehicle that the employee puts in money. The village does not contribute to this. It just gives them the tools for doing it. We have 3 457 plans, and somebody came in and looked at the charges, the fees that the employees were being charged, and frankly, they're outrageous. The 457 plans are not like 401ks. They're a bit of a ripoff in general. They just are. And if you're going to be given a tool to use to save for retirement, the village ought to be letting them have access to better tools. So this company came in, reviewed that, and as part of that, found a much, much lower alternative that they would like to talk to the employees about in terms of lowering their costs, the employees' costs, because any money that goes off to a third party doesn't end up in compounding as part of their savings. So this, they can potentially retire with a lot more money by just not giving it away to a company. And as a matter of fact, one of those companies offers its own mutual funds. It's 2/3 of the mutual funds at outrageous prices there. So they're kind of getting you coming and going. So this is, it's exciting that this is something that won't cost the village anything and will save the employees quite a bit of money. And so I would encourage all employees, whether you're, in this particular case, it's the ones already in the 457 plan, but soon following that would be any employee to come and learn about ways that they can save for retirement. And yeah, it's just an exciting upgrade in what's being offered.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mayor, before you go any further, let the record reflect that trustees Lindsay had to leave the meeting at 9:13 p.m. Thank you.
Can I get the health and pollution report, trustee Murphy?
No report this evening, sir.
Traffic safety, trustee Dozal.
No report, Mayor.
Trustees, any presentations, petitions, or communications?
I have a couple. The Alsip Park, excuse me,
Alsip Industrial Association.
That's right. The Alsip Industrial Association is having a golf outing. And it will be on Friday, May 17th, 2019 at Fountain Hill Golf Club. They are looking for corporate sponsors, hole sponsors, teams of 4 golfers, individual golfers, which if you would like to participate in being an individual golfer on a team of 4, it is a $75 donation, which includes dinner and 2-hour open bar. If you would like to be a corporate sponsor, it is a $500 donation, and if you want to be a whole sponsor, that is $75. And 100% of, I understand, 100% of the proceeds goes to benefit the scholarships. And you can find more information on the alsipchamber.org or the alsipindustrial.com. Also, I have a lot of residents have been asking, but apparently don't have access to the website, but the village branch pickup schedule is out and for 2019. And there is copies of this at the clerk's window. They're also online under Public Works, and any questions can be answered. You can call Erica at the village office for extension 416.
It usually can also be found on Channel 3. Or the cable channel.
I don't have a biggest door. And that's all I have, sir. I'm just going to picture it.
Thank you. And that is a great golf outing. I go every year, and it's a 3-club golf outing, a lot of fun, and that's why we call it goofing, not golfing.
That's right.
So, the other, very quickly with some communications, we're going to be putting this out, and I remind everybody on social media and whatnot that we're going to have a village-wide cleanup day again this year on Saturday, May 4th. Last year we had some nice participation from some corporate sponsors here in the village, and certainly we encourage special interest groups if they'd like to come out and participate. It was a nice effort last season. We appreciate their help and look forward to it this year. Also, my assistant Becky Smith reminded me there's a box on the kiosk out across from the clerk's office, sponsored by the Beautification Committee for flower orders, should you wish to participate in ordering flowers through the village again this year. One other thing is I've already got something drafted. It just said some of these meetings got a little bit busy, and I do want to have another village government/student participation night, and I'm going to shoot for ask junior high kids if they want to do it this year on May 6th. They're in school till June anyway, so May 6th, I'm going to ask the 8th graders from both Prairie Junior High and Hamlin School if they'd like to participate this year in a board meeting on May 6th. And then lastly, I just want to let everybody know, I really appreciate 7-Eleven coming in. I go to these deal-making shows every year, and I did meet with 7-Eleven last year and asked them to come back, and I was pleasantly surprised when they did recently, so I hope the board supports their interest to bring the new 7-Eleven to town. At this time, folks, we're actually going to have to adjourn our meeting because we lost our quorum. It's to discuss any further business with Trustee Zelinski leaving the meeting. So
No, you have it.
No, it's not for.
You're still quorum.
We can't do the executive session.
Well, that's right, exactly. I'm sorry, I apologize. I missaid that. Right. Yeah. So, did we have any unfinished business? Any new business? Then, like I said, we were going to go back into an executive session, but we don't have
You're
enough
4 of
members.
7, aren't you?
Pardon?
3 of 6. You have to have the majority of the quorum.
It was a committee of the whole. We lost our committee, and we were going to go back in for an executive session to finish up with our budget discussion from earlier. We can't do that now. So I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you for joining us tonight, then, folks. And enjoy your evening.
I can't talk.
What's that?
Meeting adjourned at 9:18 p.m.
Sorry, I spoke too early. I can talk to 2 at a time, and I